I shall do. I trust Vala, my note.
I'm only asking because you...
You seem so deep in thought, my dear Sten. Thinking of me, perhaps? The two of us together at last?
Yes.
What did you say?
You need armor, I think, and a helmet, and something to bite down on. How strong are human teeth?
How strong are my teeth?
Come to check on my Hala and I again, have you? I don't know. Do you have any skills that might help her? If you do, I would be grateful. Yes, that's it. She's calming down. That's it, love. Be calm. Tell me what troubles you. Ah, I see. It is her life mate who is sick, not her. He was bitten on the leg during the attack, and she fears greatly for him. I did not realize another Hala was injured. This will allow me to prevent the sickness from spreading to the entire herd. Masiranus, thank you. You have done my clan a great boon this day. I will always be grateful for your help.
I shall do it.
Let us pray to the creators, then. All Father.
Very well.
If there's anything I can... I'm sure...
Something on your mind? Of course. Sure, I could. I could even teach you, I suppose. Anyone who's been trained as a warrior. I guess if I'm going to give up Chantry secrets, I may as well go all the way. Send whoever you want trained to me in camp, and I'll see what I can do.
You and your friends are formidable. Of all the strange news, everyone is talking about some brother in Denerim claiming that the Urn of... I understand. That's what I've heard on the road, anyway. There's wonderful news. Arl Eamon has been cured of his strange ill... That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. The Benorn are on the run now, and there's no way that they can force Tyrn Loghain to resign the throne. But how the Tyrn is going to raise a prop... That's what I've heard. The dwarves have themselves a new king, I understand. That's what I've heard. There's been another battle. A bunch of Benorn bet Loghain at Lacus Valley, and from the sound of it, the Benorn outnumbered them. Tyrn Loghain. It's a convincing... That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. There's news out of the Mage Tower that the Circle of Magi had a close call. Demons got... That's what I've heard. I've heard some strange word out of the Brazilian forest that Dalish elves are being called together to form some kind of army. And it's to help us, not attack us. That's what I've heard on... The blight sickness brought by the Darkspawn is spreading faster than any... That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. There are soldiers throughout the valley now, and Tyrn Loghain arrested 3 bands. But I hear there's common folk rioting throughout the kingdom. That's what I've heard on the... I'm hearing many tales of corpses clawing out of their graves, all over. Not just people either, animals too. Just yesterday, a farmer told me about the kitten his daughter had buried behind his barn. Little thing came back to life and crawled up, mewling as loud as you please. His daughter was delighted, at least until it just about chewed her finger off. Strange days, I tell you. That's what I've heard on the road. There's talk that King Cailan was cheating on the Queen and she found out about it. That's why Tyrn Loghain abandoned Cailan at Ostagar. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. I heard a strange rumor the other day. King Cailan was not really Merric's son, you see. Merric's real son is hidden in the bowels of Denerim's palace and has been since he was born. I suppose they feed him cakes all day to keep him content. That's what I've heard on the... Habron, daughter of the Arl of Southreach, has spent an exorbitant amount of her father's coin buying puppies. No one knows what happens to the puppies, and she buys a new one every week. That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. I've heard a rumor that the reason Queen Enora has never produced an heir is that she's barren. It's a curse from the... That's what I've heard on the road, anyhow. Take it. It's said the North Road Inn serves a shepherd's pie containing actual shepherds. Seems the innkeeper has something against the flocks being brought too near his own field. That's what I've heard on the... There's a nasty rumor going around that the Grey Wardens are evil and that they worship the Archdemon. They're the ones that caused the blight. They were getting upset, see? That there was no use for them anymore. That's what I've heard on the... I don't know what to tell you. Nothing I can think of at the moment.
You called. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. I am hardly surprised. The Kyun, the path to wisdom. I am not surprised you don't recognize it. Ask a Tamasran. They know how to explain things to children. It is not for me to teach the Kyun. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. I am hardly surprised. To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Our farmers wish to be merchants. The merchants dream of being nobles, and the nobles become warriors. No one is content to be who they are. What does that accomplish? The farmer who buys a shop is never a merchant. He is always a farmer turned merchant. He carries his old life with him as a turtle carries its shell. Does it? It's also his weakness. If he stumbles and falls over, it pins him on his back. It is better to armor yourself with no more than what you need. One life, one duty. You can learn to find it in doing your duty, in serving your people. There is no need to search for it. Shall we move on? Perhaps. It's strange to be in a crowd and hear a language that is not your own. To see faces that are and aren't like yours. I miss the smells of Saheron. Tea and incense and the sea. Ferelden smells of wet dogs. True. I was trying to forget that part. Shall we move on? There is interesting food here. You have a thing. It doesn't have a word in the Kunari tongue. Little baked things like bread, but sweet and crumbly. Yes, we have no such things in our lands. This should be remedied. Shall we move on? As you wish. You called. Speak, then. Then I suggest we move on. I am hardly surprised. To put it lightly, no one has a place here. Oh, very well. As you wish.
You there. Aye, you. I've been watching you. Where can I get some sauce for that rump roast? That's right. You've wiped your foot on the Ogren doormat of love. Go and make yourself ready, woman. I'll be right there to see to it. I got a moment, sure. What about? Oh, sure. I'm fine with it. I mean, she was a real firebrand between the sheets, but a bit soft in the skull, you know what I mean? Explains why she left, anyway. Handling what? Bronca? That treasure's been long buried. Ancestors take me. You people whine like tea kettles around here. I got a moment, sure. What about? It's sodding great. At first I was a little queasy with all that air, but there's just so much of it. No one has any idea who you are or what you're doing. And the ale. Oh, who'd have thought ale made with grain? Aye, the surface is great. It's like a big, bright world of filth without a ceiling. My kind of place. Hey, let's go find something to kill, huh? All this talk makes my hands twitchy. I got a moment. What about? What? Miss Orzammar? Are you mad, in addition to being ugly? They treated me like a puddle fly back there. I'm never going back. All right. Aye, all right then. I got a moment, sure. What about? You get a sword or an axe, and are told to go out and defend your city. It's the best thing in the world. That is until you try to live in the city you saved. I mean, they train you to kill, teach you to harness your rage at the first noise you hear, then try to set 100 sodding rules about it. Like those provings. Ancestors show their favor through the strongest arm, right? So why so many rules saying how to fight and when you win and not to bloody kill? Killing's what swords are for. You toss a nug to a deep stalker, you don't expect it not to eat the thing, right? This makes me cranky. Don't you have any other inane questions? All right. All right then. I got a moment. What about? All right. All right. This human walks into a tavern, and there's an elf there, and she says... she says... She says, I don't... Ass chaps. I got a moment, sure.
What say you? By all means.